I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, a basketball podcast. I am Ben Detrick. With me, as usual, don't jump the gun, Jordan Redaelli is here.
I am present. I'm here. Am I present? You can tell.
We'll find that out.
You know who else is here? I'm Andrew Kuo.
Are you going to do the whole...
Could I just do it like...
The whole Quo-less show? With you doing...
Quo ad-libs. I'll just do my normal voice, have Quo ad-libs. Calculator.
Well, Andrew Kuo is not here. He is...
Not here to defend himself at all.
He's not here to defend himself. So there's going to be a lot of harsh charges levied at Mr. Kuo. He's off gallivanting around Japan.
Apparently he's on a family trip, but I really just think he's over there learning how to bootleg better. He's getting his bootleg clothes T-shirt game up for the interns.
That is the Cookies aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be on a family trip, but I keep seeing photos of like cool guys and like cool places and drinks and good food. It looks a little more like a vacation.
Yes. It doesn't sound like one of those family vacations, which is like...
I did not see Griswold 1.
No.
So anyway, Kuo, you can keep up with him on his Twitter account. He's been updating it with photos of vegetables and cool Japanese people. So you can check that out. In the meantime,
is he watching any basketball? Or is he just having like mini conniption fits every day where he's like, must watch basketball?
Well, he's 12 hours ahead. So I'm trying to think if that puts
him. So he gets to see the games before we do?
Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah.
So he's actually recording over there pod with the results of the games that happened tonight right now.
Oh, fuck. Future Kuo.
I'm trying to think. When you travel in Australia, if you're in Australia, you're quite a ways ahead. Watching games in Europe is a little strange because it's really late at night. So this is kind of different, though, right?
I don't know,
because it's like a full 12 hours, I believe. So
he's watching them in the morning, like
right?
It's like Kuo's cartoons, except it's.
I'm saying I think it might be kind of awesome. Like you could wake up and at 9 a.m., 8 a.m. The NBA is just like full steam. It's like players only is going on. You're hearing Isaiah like with your corn pops.
Oh man, I never would have got through high school if like they didn't play basketball that frequently in Australia. But now that they do, like imagine getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and watching the East Coast game and you get the West Coast game. I just wouldn't go to school, or I'd be late to school every day.
Right, that's why Europe doesn't work as well, because the games start at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Well,
it doesn't. It's really disruptive. It's not like you're waking up to Andrew Wiggins off to his typical exploits.
I bet they have TiVo over there, right? What's the European TiVo called, Ben? Straight off the top of your head, what would you name it?
No idea. I don't know if I've ever seen a television on in Europe.
Oh. Interesting.
Maybe in like a bar or something.
They're all just reading like broadsheet newspapers on the sidewalk.
But it's all in different colored hues, like pink papers, green papers, just all like very pastel broadsheets.
Like
with
the
accents.
food section is green and the arts section is pink. Is that how it works?
European listeners, please let us know if that's how your local newspapers work, if they are color-coded for your reading ease. Can we talk for a second here about your hair?
Oh, what about... Oh.
You've gotten yourself a real haircut.
Yes. After many years of cutting it myself with a baseball hat and some beard clippers, a friend of mine, Kyle, she took me over to her barber chair and sorted me out. And now I look a little bit too much like you for my liking.
It's a great look.
Yeah.
I think it works for you.
Yeah. It's fine. It's actually, I like it. I'm freshly shorn for summer exploits, Ben.
Can you take us through your old method? Now, you said a baseball cap and a beard trimmer. Is that really just the classic bowl cut?
Yeah, it's a baseball
Like
hat.
a literal bowl and scissors, but you're kind of making it sound cooler than it is?
No, I don't have a bowl that fits on my head. Like, I just have like little ramen noodle bowls. Like, that might work for a 4-year-old. No, I take a baseball hat, of which I have many, and then whatever hair I can see underneath the line, I just hack at with like a beard trimmer thing, like a Wall Phillips Norelco beard trimmer.
Now, the way that hair works,
Yes.
I would assume then that the hair on the very top of your head would never really grow long enough to get cut. And yet the sides just kind of keep getting peeled back. So you'd end up with kind of a mushroom type of situation.
It does, but once they grow long enough to get cut, they get cut, and then they go shorter again. That's how you've seen a bowl cut, right?
I've seen a bowl cut.
Okay,
I've seen
so-
your hair for the last decade.
Okay, so that's it. It's a fucking curly head, gray mongrel ass bowl cut using a beard clipper and beard trimmer and a baseball hat.
And now you've moved on. Is
don't
this
know.
going to be a new thing for you? I think it looks good. I'm trying to encourage you.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll probably grow out and still look like a bowl cut anyway, because that's just the nature of my shitty, dying, downtrodden hair.
Well, you look great.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Is this the part where I tell you that you also look great?
It could be.
I love your button down.
Thank you.
And tucked into your slacks.
It was
look.
tucked in. It's not anymore. That was more of a welcome and to record the pod. But now it's kind of like, Porzingis untucking his jersey. Like we're in the game.
Yeah, those Docksiders are nice. You look like you're about to bribe somebody to get your kids into college.
God willing.
Also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for not picking me up a coffee on the way here. That was super cool of you.
You didn't ask. I said I'm at the coffee shop, and you said, "How long will it be?" or something. You didn't say anything.
Well, I was waiting for you to be nice and offer. I don't want to ask for shit all the time. But you came back with a black coffee, and now it's not black anymore.
That's because I added some oat milk.
You're an oat milk guy. Do they not have it at the coffee purveyor of your choice, who apparently only had one coffee left?
Well, I was in such a rush to get back here that I forgot to put oat milk in it. That's the honest truth. I was like, shit, Jordan's back there. I got to get back there without his coffee. Mm-hmm. And I use my own oat milk.
Oh, yeah? What kind of oat milk is that? Oh, but is there different kinds of oat milk, like vanilla bean oat milk or like guacamole, egg flip oat milk?
So-
Oat milk?
There are different brands. I have never been an alternative milk individual here.
An alternative milker?
That's the utter truth, Jordan.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So no, but I never really got into almond milk and all that kind of stuff. I was kind of like the, cow purist.
You like a half and half guy or just whole milk?
No, whole milk, 2%. I'm not really picky, but
But it had to be from a cow.
I was more into a cow.
You didn't like nut milks?
Hadn't really gotten into them.
You know, like
Almonds okay, but
I first learned about alternative milk from the Red Hot Chili Peppers mastermind, Anthony Kiedis, who makes his own milk straight from the nut.
can you do that? I
You can if you're a millionaire.
was going to say that's like a really aggressive milking policy.
Yeah, I mean,
What's like how many cashews
do you
does
know,
it
do
take?
you know about like how much time you have on your hands when you stop doing copious amounts of heroin? I do. Podcasts.
I can turn. And you've also started brewing your own kombucha and milking cashews.
Yeah.
Anyway, not as a novice oat milk enthusiast, I'm absolutely not a connoisseur. That would be the height of absurdity to claim. I've noticed there is a real difference between the inferior oat milk, which I just poured into my coffee. I believe the brand was like, I don't know, Oat Planet or something. And Oatly. Oatly oat milk, great. And this is not a paid advertisement. This is a earnest advocation of Oatly oat milk.
How much would someone like Oatly have to pay you to endorse their product?
Nothing. I do it for free, clearly. I thought you were an oat milk guy, too.
I don't mind it. but I wouldn't say I ride for any particular kind of milk. I don't know if I give a shit about the like tiny little. I only really drink it in coffees that I don't have.
I think I ride for oat milk now. This is dawning on me, and that was why I kind of was. It was on my mind. I'd never been an alt milk man, and now here I am.
Same with
oat milk guy.
with me with kombucha. Maybe it's because like there's beverages present when we record because you get like a dry mouth, and Kuo has his fucking tea, and
This is true. Kuo's tea is like a key component that we're missing this week. It fills the air with the scent of cinnamon and whatever it is that he does with it.
yeah, and it also would have surprised me with the caffeine that I'm so sorely missing right now.
I don't have an issue with that because I have a coffee.
Yes.
So anyway,
right.
Speaking of things that are, just speaking of things.
Speaking of things that are white and watery.
I noticed that your beloved homeland is currently imperiled by a cyclone, and the cyclone is called Cyclone Trevor.
Is that right?
It's true. I don't know if it's an incredibly dangerous storm. I'm not meaning to.
I actually have my phone set up to filter out all and any alerts from Australia.
A wise move. But the thing that struck me, and I do not know the severity of this storm, and if it is wreaking havoc on the fatherland, I apologize. But is Cyclone Trevor the cokiest storm name you've ever heard? Pretty cokey.
Pretty cokey. But no one's actually called Trevor in Australia. It's Cyclone Trev. Or Cyclone Trevi.
All I could think of is like, oh man, Cyclone Trev just like got in a fight with a homeless guy when he out to smoke a cigarette in front of
Oh, I
Sophie's.
see what you did there.
You know, like
And there's going to be
Cyclone
like three
Trev.
other people listening who might see what you did there. But no, cyclones are pretty bad in Australia. They really fuck things up. Like I remember a few years ago when Cyclone took out a whole like year's worth of banana crops. Man, you should have seen people in Australia when they couldn't. It's a long way away. You can't just go importing goddamn bananas if you're not growing them. So there was a year where bananas were like $5 each, which is amazing considering they're a good 35 cents a pop normally.
You have the same issue with cocaine, ironically.
Yes, hard to get. Well, yeah, except we don't grow cocaine.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But that's where Cyclone Trev would come in.
Yes, yeah. You know, what do people say that I don't like? Bless up, Australia. Stay careful with Cyclone Trevor in your midst.
But that's what I'm like Hurricane Sandy. If you were throwing in a party and like Hurricane Sandy's in the way, you're like, all right, that sounds okay. If someone's like, yeah, my buddy came over, Cyclone Trev, he's on the way.
Yeah, Cyclone Trev definitely has like
Oh
a
God,
giant bag of trucker speed that he found at the train station on the way over.
who's that breaking bottles in the backyard? Oh, that's my buddy. You met him before. Cyclone Trev.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just some Australian content I thought could appeal to our down under audience, if you will, in lieu of any other news that we're going to speak about that could have happened on that area of the world.
Yes. I mean, like Andrew Bogut leaving.
Oh man, you saw he's arrived and they already are welcoming his quote asshole sense of humor.
Yeah. Didn't he also start his first game back because Boogie was out?
Yeah,
Got
Boogie's
called
out.
got called for a moving screen within 10 seconds, which, you know, I like. Really throwing out that statement of intent for the rest of the season.
They
You
asked,
might get hung up on a fucking illegal pick that Andrew Bogut's setting with his knees and his elbows aimed at your head.
they asked him about him adapting to the modern game and like, the game's faster now. He's like, still got to get screens, still got to get rebounds. Like, I mean,
Not wrong.
like I was like, what do you want from Bogut to be like? Yeah, I'm obsolete. Yeah, like he was also in the league like 2 years ago.
Yeah, still got to get set screens, still got to get rebounds. Also helpful if you can shoot threes and block shots.
I think Bogut's a good pickup for them. I don't know how much he'll play late in the season. I'm not even exactly sure if he's eligible for the playoffs. I can't remember how the dates work with that.
What
but
would the point be if he wasn't eligible for the playoffs?
maybe just down the stretch to give
Boogie some rest?
Yeah, but I'm not sure because there was a date for when you had to add guys. It was early March, and perhaps they just beat it. I'm not sure.
I can't imagine that anyone would go back to their former team who's going to win a championship if you then didn't get to win that championship with them.
I would agree.
After having lost out on a couple of championships because they
Yeah, what's
got rid of you.
what's the upside here if you're not eligible? So I will say
avoiding Cyclone Trev.
Trev is outside and he's ringing the buzzer. Let's turn off the lights.
Andrew, your mother said Trevor's outside.
So Bogut back in the league,
Yeah?
but they lost. They fell last night.
Yeah. They've been falling a lot.
And it was to the Spurs.
Oh, yeah, your favorite team.
The Spurs and Miami Heat, the finals foes for the LeBron and Duncan era, are kind of the zombie teams of the league right now. Spurs have won 9 in a row. They're doing what they normally do and winning with defense. I believe over the last 10 games or so, like top 3 defense, pretty good offense, and they've beaten really good opponents. I want to say they've beaten like Denver, OKC, maybe Portland, the Warriors now. Are you sick of them yet? Are you happy with them? Give me a
With the Spurs, well, I'll
Spurs,
give you the real, I guess they call it. I haven't watched a single goddamn Spurs game in like 2.5 years.
kind of the same.
I can watch one from maybe 6 years ago, and it will be the same as the one from last night.
I definitely get forced into watching a Spurs game in the playoffs, but during the regular season, you can't force me to watch a Spurs game.
I'm happy for them. Why? I mean, I wouldn't. Who do I want in the playoffs if not the Spurs? If not Pop spending 7 days working out how to beat a bunch of really young dudes whose time it should be, only to have it disappointed by the likes of LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan. Oh, God, they're a gross team.
That's exactly
what a
it. Like,
gross team.
In theory, I love the fact that they're winning, that Pop is still doing his thing, that he hasn't retired.
I think this is his 20. I think last night was his 20. What's it called when you when he achieved?
What is this phrase that I've never heard?
With that win, he achieved his 22nd consecutive winning season in the NBA. I believe.
Is that good?
Yeah, you tell me.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Who else has done that?
Maybe I'm going to get into the Spurs.
Ooh. You'd become like a Patty Mills stan. Gonna get a jersey or like make one.
I like the sort of random European guys that show up on their roster on a yearly basis.
He's a redhead dude that's not Scalabrini. Bertans.
Yeah, he can really shoot.
Can really shoot. He can really yam that ball too for a ginger.
I guess I don't know. Once I think about getting into the Spurs, then I think about watching LaMarcus Aldridge, and I can't do that.
No. Has anyone ever been a LaMarcus Aldridge fan? Like, is LaMarcus Aldridge anybody's favorite player except like the broken down 50-year-old dude who still goes down the park
I
in
feel
like goggles and knee braces?
He's probably one of those guys that when he first got drafted, I believe he was drafted by the Bulls and ended up going to Portland, and it was like the exciting young guy, and he became an Aldridge booster. You liked him when he was young. Once he's probably not someone who has acquired a lot of fans.
But he was on that Portland team with Brandon Roy, right?
But you know, like
there was someone was like the outlier.
I mean, you've hitched your wagon to the Aldridge mobile.
I mean, we know like if he was here, Quo would be like, I like LaMarcus Aldridge.
What was that, Quo? Did you just chime in?
Marcus Aldridge is great.
He's always been great. What's everyone talking about?
Surprisingly good defender. Makes mid-range.
Oh, R.I.P. Quo.
Anyway, I was surprised to see the Spurs rebounding because I had kind of, like everyone else, written them off, and then here they are again. So We'll be bored by them in the postseason. I will say, the fact that they are now in the 5th seed, passing OKC, surprised.
I'm very surprised.
But, like-
that OKC team had a rough start, but they've had. I mean, they've got at one point an MVP candidate in Paul George. They've got an MVP winner in Russell Westbrook.
They have
They
the god
have-
Nerlens Noel,
Have the God Nerlens
the
Noel.
young Lord Jeremy Grant.
They have our man Steven Adams beasting down low.
Anyway, Spurs are better than them right now.
Yeah, that's a real surprise. But is it? You look at Miami with the guard Eric Spoelstra. Is this just coaching, Ben?
To me, these teams use what is now a cliche, the idea of like culture. And that really just means having a system, knowing the kind of guys who will work within it, and acquiring those dudes. And if you specialize in defense, you can typically get guys or acquire players who are unheralded or undervalued. Because we all know that, guys who can dribble and create and score, everyone can recognize and identify those kind of players. It's easy. But it's harder to find someone who can play defense on an NBA level. And if that's what you're trying to find, there's a market to exploit. And I feel like both those teams do that. They always are good defensively. They are unselfish. They are disciplined. And it could be coaching, but it's also just knowing what you are and having a team identity.
What's the over-under on a Spurs-Miami revenge final series coming up?
Very fucking low.
Yeah.
But the Heat are now in the 8th seed. They're one game back from Brooklyn. They're kind of within pissing distance of the Detroit Pistons. I did not mean to do that alliteration at all.
No, I didn't believe so.
So they could end up being a team that faces Philly or Toronto or likely Milwaukee in the first round. Not a fun team to play. Like they're kind of excellent right now.
Well, let's get into that. If Miami fucks around and gets the Bucks in the first round, does that matchup pose a significant threat to the Bucks currently without Malcolm motherfucking Brogdon, who's definitely going to miss the first, probably the second round?
Yeah, so Malcolm Brogdon, who won Rookie of the Year a couple seasons ago in Joel Embiid's shortened debut, has turned into a really good player and a key part of the Bucks, having one of the best records in basketball. Great on offense, great on defense, kind of leading the East from the start of the season until now. And they've kind of dominated the conference, and they played Philly the other day, and they're not quite as scary without Brogdon. And he's got a plantar fasciitis injury, which I am familiar with said injury, and it sucks. And he's out for 6 to 8 weeks.
Did you also develop yours from playing 82 games a year?
Yes, that's
so.
the same thing that happened to me.
Is this the point where Hoka starts getting into basketball sneakers?
Hoka Watch? Is this a Hoka Watch segment?
Hoka watch.
Malcolm Brogdon might want to be a Hoka rep.
Yeah.
But yeah, without Brogdon, the Bucks don't quite have the same dynamic. They have done a really great job putting Giannis in a situation where he's the only non-shooter on the floor, and having that kind of quickness and creativity and defense on the wing with guys like Brogdon and Bledsoe has really been a significant reason the team looks so different and plays so differently from the team they had last year. Then you had Brook Lopez taking a lot of threes, which spreads the court out further. And they played.
Without Brogdon, you only have one dedicated cutter.
And you've got George Hill, who's just kind of old.
Yeah.
There's a real drop off between Brogdon and Hill, which is not a crazy statement to make, but the importance of Brogdon does feel surprising. But I also think it's real.
I mean, it's similar in a way Where if you took Redick off the Sixers, that would change the dynamic of that team as well.
It would improve them dramatically. So as the resident Bucks fan here, are you getting a little anxious about this Brogdon situation?
Yeah, I actually am. There's been plenty of occasions over the last 10, 15 years. Like Dallas, I believe, was the number one seed going into the finals and got beaten in the first round. Who did they take out that other time?
Well, you had Dallas and Golden State. That was
Dallas
the
and
one.
Golden State.
And then way back in the day, you had who was it? The Nuggets beat somebody with the one where the Supersonics.
Yes.
The classic Mutombo on the ground, clutching the ball and cackling at the gods.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it happen. You've seen teams get taken, or teams with the winning record, whether it's 1-8 or 2-7, get taken to 7 games. And the Bucks looked terrible in the playoffs last year, especially that final game where they fluffed the last minute of that game. Obviously, completely different coach, very different personnel and ideology there. But Miami's been there before. A lot. And Eric Spoelstra's been there before a lot. And, Miami's going to be able to play pretty loose and with nothing to lose. So
I don't have that much fear of first-round opponents if I'm Milwaukee. I think Giannis is so good and they have enough talent that Brooklyn, Detroit, Miami, I think that's fine. I'm not that worried about those guys. If I'm the Bucks, I'm worried about the next round. Because if Brogdon's not playing, which remains to be seen, you're almost certainly...
even if he is, he will have sat for 6 to 8 weeks, which is a long time, right?
Right, but you're getting, after that round, you're going to get the winner of, I would say, most likely a Boston or Philly. I don't think you're going to get Indiana, but I think you'll get Boston or Philly. And those are totally different dynamics without Brogdon because Boston has a raft of guards.
And Philly has a raft of long wings.
Well, big boys, just brolic youth. But with Philly, the Bucks' advantage over Philly is no longer as pronounced if Brogdon is out. And if I'm going to put on my Sixers Simpsons tie-dye shirt for a moment.
Oh, nice plug.
There's actually only one left, and it's a double XL. So if you're a big boy, perhaps a forward on the Sixers, you can grab that.
Is that in a blue or in a red?
Red. The blues are gone. Never to be reprinted. But there's going to be a little playoff treat on the way, I think.
Oh, cool.
But if I'm going to talk Sixers here, they played in the marquee game on last weekend, and Philly won. And this is the Brogdonless Bucks. And that was kind of the 1 seed versus the 3, Eastern Conference clash between the powers. And Philly, it ended up being close, but Philly looked better than them.
Why do you think they looked better?
I really think it has to do with the absence of Brogdon. When the Sixers can't defend 2 guys on the perimeter, then their whole defense breaks down. But if you can hide Redick, that makes a big difference for Philly. You can just put him somewhere. And the one thing I will say, as much as I defend non-shooters like Simmons or Giannis, it's harder to do that thing that Golden State does, where you just ISO somebody and attack them when you have a non-shooter on the floor. So Bledsoe can attack Redick off the dribble anytime he wants.
Yeah, anytime.
Whenever. But Embiid or whoever is just kind of hanging out in the lane because they don't respect Giannis's jumper. So you saw that a couple times where in transition, Bledsoe would just go and Redick would kind of flail backwards and just kind of foul him helplessly. But in the half court, it's just not as easy. And Philly basically went with the strategy of let Giannis get his points, and he scored
52 or something,
and hold the other guys. And if the Bucks are going to do that against Philly, I don't know that they have the firepower without Brogdon to win a 7-game series.
It's a single game sample, but also they let Giannis get his, but Embiid had to go off for like 40 and 19 or something in order to get that win. So
Embiid's shot selection goes out the window when he's going against someone that he can't just bully in the post. And same thing with like Horford, but Lopez is like a solid dude, and Embiid can't just sort of shove him under the basket. And he resorts. I think he shot 12 threes. He takes a lot of mid range, a lot of awkward shots, like
a lot of baseline fadeaways off one leg.
I mean, it's a testament to his ability that he made a lot. But if I'm the Bucks, I'm like, cool, man. Those are hard shots. You're not on the offensive glass. There's not much passing going on. I'd be more worried if Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris were going off if I'm the Bucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll take Embiid mid-range jumpers. It's cool. And the Bucks have a fantastic defense. I don't know.
It's interesting times in the East.
It sure is. One thing we didn't talk about earlier that I wanted to... We just started like rolling right into basketball.
Yeah. Being the basketball podcast.
It's the basketball podcast.
Is it the or the? You keep changing it, and then I say it the right way or the way you've been saying it, and then you clown me by correcting me.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Kuo?
I think
it's the.
It's the. Yes, confirmed. Ghost Kuo said it's the.
It's just over there silently nodding. Did you watch the HBO doc, The Inventor?
I did.
Out for Blood in Silicon Valley, I believe, is the subheader about what's her face from Theranos.
What's her name? Amanda Holmes.
Something
Holmes.
From Theranos, the fraudster of Silicon Valley, whose company was valued at like $4 billion, $8 billion, and it turned out to be just like it was like a dick in a box.
It was valued at $9 billion with a $500 million investment that she swindled.
And it was like a mouse inside of a refrigerator.
It was basically like a Pez dispenser for blood work. So what do you want to know from me?
I watched a little bit
of
it as the resident cinephile. Did you enjoy
I don't know if it's really cinema in that one. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, fucking haughty guy you are.
I know, I'm haughty.
Someone got a new haircut.
Haughty as fuck, yeah.
No
more bullshit bowl cuts and weak-ass documentaries for this little black duck.
I was about to say, you used to watch Skyscraper and have a bowl cut. Now you're artsy-fartsy over here.
I watched it. It was fine. I have a bit of a problem with these kind of documentaries at the moment because so many of them are based on an article from the New Yorker or something or Wall Street Journal. And this was specifically a case that was blown open by, I think, writers from Fortune magazine, Forbes, the New Yorker, and Wall Street Journal. They all sort of had these little profiles on her. But then there was an extended profile on her in the Wall Street Journal that was turned into a book that was now turned into this documentary that's now being turned into a Jennifer Lawrence starring feature film. And the thing is, but at that point, there's no new information in any of these because everyone's trying to get a story out in the shortest period of time possible. Like 6 months after there's an article, there's a book. That gets optioned into a movie, and then people are trying to get their documentaries out before the feature film comes out because it's a shorter gestation period. And you end up with this glut of repetitive information with no new insight, and especially they have a lot of footage of her speaking, but it's her when she's lying about everything. She seems just like a crazy liar anyway. There is not a lot of new insight as into why she did this. And in that way, it's very similar to the Fire documentary, the Netflix one, where they have a lot of footage and a lot of prior interviews in which to build a story or tell the story, but you're not really getting into the nuts and bolts of it because the main players have declined to be interviewed. And it's a bit of a bummer when that happens because you're not getting the full story. You don't get to find out the psychology behind these people. It's just other talking heads or someone who's been paid to appear in a documentary as a character witness or to break down maybe what somebody is thinking.
Well, from a journalistic standpoint, this is kind of the new dream, right? Where you write a story, and instead of just getting your whatever $1,500, a couple $1,000 that you would normally get from if you were a freelancer writing for a publication, it turns into a story that can get optioned. And there are now companies that really specialize in that. Turning articles that are journalism into whether it's a doc or a feature film, a screenplay, etc. And that's
The Old Man and the Gun is another similar situation that became a feature film recently, and that was an article written like 3 years ago.
There was an article in New York Magazine about this sort of haunted house in Jersey where they were getting weird notes, and it's like sold, turned into stuff, and some of them are good, some of them aren't. But it is odd when you've read the story and you've heard about it and you're updated on it, and then you're watching the doc, kind of like the other HBO one that just came out, the one about from Serial.
Adnan Syed.
And I'm like, I've paid attention to that story. We all listened to the podcast. We've kind of mildly kept abreast of news regarding him. Like,
But then again, maybe like something like HBO does have such a national appeal, and it's people who watch Game of Thrones or whatever. What else is on HBO? I don't know. The Sopranos.
Westworld,
who would like, oh cool, I'll check out this interesting documentary, but it's kind of cliff notes to the real story.
I also just think that we're looking at it from a perspective of being people who ingest a lot of media.
Sure.
Where like, I already listened to that pod, or I read that article, or I did this, and you're right, not everyone has. But it is a little annoying when so many stories, you kind of know them from nose to tail already.
Yeah, but it's sort of like, needs new angle.
But that was the thing with the Inventor. I watched some of it, and I'm like, I get it, but like, I also know this story. I've watched docs with her.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem is that they all follow the same trajectory. Like there's another, I think it was New Yorker article, The Bling Ring, that then Sophia was turned into a book, and then Sophia Coppola made a feature film adaptation of the book.
Bling Ring and Argo are like the two writers' dreams. You're just trying to find a Bling Ring story or an Argo story. Those are the ones.
Yeah, and the Bling Ring, the movie is basically just a filmed version of the article. It's really crazy. Like the quotes are direct quotes from the article, and I get like you could put it down to it being realism or whatever, but not really. It's just lazy as shit. And the other thing that's really surprising is that the Inventor was, I don't know, again, maybe it's because I knew this story kind of back to front, but considering a lot of the footage they used was directed by Errol Morris, and this movie was directed by Alex Gibney, who's one of the more like vaunted documentary filmmakers of our current times, it was boring as batshit. And it felt like it was an Alex Gibney film farmed out to his assistant editors or assistant directors that just put his name on it. It was really, really average, which is nothing, like being bad is great compared to being average.
It kind of went, I don't know, when I turned it on, and a lot of these documentaries that don't have information to divulge, they're just going to tell you the story. They kind of always start out just with like almost a trailer of like, here's what's going to happen. You're like, oh, I know all this. Right. You're just refreshing me. And then you're going to tell me the whole story again in more minutia. There's no reveal.
Well, it's very much like how they do trailers at the moment is they will do like a 15-second supercut of the most exciting parts of the trailer, and then like the production company cards will come up and they'll start the actual trailer. It is a teaser for the 15-second teaser for the 2-minute trailer that you're about to watch just to get you in. And that's kind of what these documentaries on Netflix and stuff are like. It's almost like a cold open, or like you said, a trailer with the high points of the documentary shown first, so that you'll stay beyond the expected point in time. And I don't know if it's to make people stick around for the entire time, or to make people stick around for that exciting 4 minutes or whatever, and maybe that's all Netflix needs to consider that a view.
Well, Netflix, I'm sure, considers a view anyone who clicks on anything for half a second. If your mouse hovers over that trailer, they're probably calling it a view. I mean, they don't give their numbers to anybody.
They don't give their numbers to anyone, but there has to be something. They do have to have rules in place. So it may.
I wonder if they count the hovering auto start for you're watching the trailer. I bet they do.
Well, Netflix got in hot water. Not like Netflix can ever get into trouble for anything, because what are you gonna do? Cancel Netflix? Fuck no. For that new series, the Love, Death, and Robots one. You heard about that?
Yeah, apparently they are maybe using their sort of personal information that they've gleaned from viewers, whatever you describe it, an algorithm, and they were using a different order for this new series that has standalone episodes that seem to be catered towards specific viewers. And I saw, this was on Twitter, I saw people talking about that. Some gay viewers were like, oh, we got the episodes that were gay first. And other people were like, oh, these are the episodes had violence against women first, or these ones were different. I looked at mine and it was the same
Just
order as
all violence against women right at the top.
just nose to tail. But no, it was the same as Wikipedia. So I don't know if they actually went in and sort of made it universal for everyone. But they did issue kind of a vague denial that it was based on who you were, which doesn't hold water to me. They weren't making it random.
No, but I mean, they either changed it back or you just don't use Netflix enough where it was worth them changing the order.
I'm saying their denial, their statement was it was kind of meandering. Where it was we're not basing it on you, but they didn't really totally deny
they may be we're not basing it on you because of your personal information. We're basing it on your viewing habits.
I think that's kind of what they were getting at.
And I have no fucking problem with that whatsoever. They're suggestions for shit for me to watch are so far off base anyway. I don't. Their algorithms and their guesses at what I want at any given time.
I love when I'm scrolling down. It's like a suggested category is time travel comedies. I'm like, when did I get into time travel comedy? Who would do that? Because I watched the hot tub one time, and now I'm a time travel comedy guy.
But you're such a time travel fan that you watched Hot Tub Time Machine 2 before Hot Tub Time Machine 1.
Did I?
Or did you not? I have no problem with Netflix using that to potentially make my experience better. And
what other time travel comedies am I even supposed to be getting into?
Back to the fucking Future, dude.
Is that a comedy? I guess so.
Yes, it's a comedy. It's hilarious. Have you seen that movie?
Midnight in Paris, Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day, not really time travel, but I think it counts. Men in Black.
That's not a comedy. That movie sucks.
That was not funny at all. Click. Starring
Click.
Adam Sandler.
Oh my God. So hot. Want to touch the hiney.
I don't know this movie
Adam
or what that
Sandler
was.
is a national treasure and a completely undervalued member of the Hollywood community.
I'm really bummed that I was not at the Tuesday Night Run when Adam Sandler came to play a few times about a year and a half ago.
Dude, I don't know, man. What if you matched up with Sandler? I bet he could back you down. He'll put you to work under the basket, man.
Oh, he's got that donk.
He's got, I don't know. You don't want to. You don't want
Got that wagon.
You don't want to put that weak side help and realize that Sandler's in the dunk spot.
No, apparently he's pretty good. People said he can play. He could shoot. What I heard from two different people is that he's very aggressive. I was like, oh, Sandler goes in.
I mean, you've seen the fucking Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
It's a documentary.
It's a documentary. He's a psycho hockey player. Punch Drunk Love, Psycho. Sandler's good. Netflix, bad.
I gotta check. I gotta check my time travel comedies for Click.
Click is good. There's another one of his just very underrated or properly rated because it's an absolute, like, it's just straight dog shit, is a movie called The Cobbler, set on Essex Street on the Lower East Side.
That kept coming up in my permutations, and I wonder what I did wrong to get The Cobbler coming up, just frequently popping up.
I don't know, the Netflix...
Shoe-related New York City comedy
filmed around the
rom-coms.
corner from Dimes. like
Shout out to Andrew Kuo, the king of Dime Square.
Yeah, Dickhead Triangle 2, Adam Sandler's Revenge.
I'm sorry, you were speaking about The Cobbler?
Oh, The Cobbler. So basically, let me break it down for you.
Great.
So he's the son of a cobbler, and it's so fucking stupid. Oh my god! And so
being a cobbler is a learned behavior for sure. It's a little like abuse.
So his fucking like shoe fixing his shoe fixing machine breaks down, and so he goes into the basement and gets like his weird old like Hasidic Jewish dad's like old like foot powered piston pumped sewing machine out of the basement, which apparently has magical properties because he fixes people's shoes, and for whatever reason he like puts on a size 10.5 that belongs to Method Man, I believe it is. And he turns into Method Man. So
Wait.
He physically turns into Adam Sandler turns into Method Man. He's still Adam Sandler,
but like Method Man the actor, not Method Man the rapper.
yes.
Okay. Because him turning into Method Man the rapper would be incredible.
Well, he turned into Method Man the actor as the like stereotypical Lower East Side like fake gangster hood dude.
I don't know Method Man's
pretty
real name,
racist.
but I believe his last name is like Smith.
Yeah. Well, I believe in the movie he's credited as Method Man, so that'll do that.
Okay.
So basically, it's the whole idea of like, walk a mile in these shoes.
Clifford Smith.
Clifford Smith. What's up, Cliff? Cyclone Cliff.
Cyclone Cliff sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Cyclone Trevor, like Jesus fucking Christ.
Jesus, Trev.
Tropical Storm Smith, totally cool.
So it's really weird. So he puts on Method Man's shoes. He turns into Method Man. He's still Adam Sandler, the cobbler, but he physically turns into Method Man. And so he decides to, walk a mile in his shoes and like rob people or be like bad. It's fucked up. And then like he fixes the boyfriend of the supermodel who lives upstairs in the Lower East Side. And so he puts on his shoes and like fucks the dude's supermodel girlfriend. Like it's pretty icky and it's pretty weird.
I don't know why. Now I feel horrified that this kept getting recommended to me, unless they're considering it a time travel comedy.
But it has like 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like it's a reviled movie, which was also funny because the same year that the director of The Cobbler made this Adam Sandler masterpiece, he won an Oscar for making other piece of shit masterpiece, Spotlight. In the same year that he made a magical realism comedy about racist, rapey Adam Sandler fixing shoes, he made a movie about rapey, racist priests getting stitched up by the Washington Post, I believe. Boston Globe.
Boston Globe. I think Boston Globe.
I'm surprised that they
I like that
cared.
movie though. I thought
Of
Spotlight was
course
good.
you like that movie because it's about like
Journalists being awesome, changing the world.
exactly.
Imagine being able to do that.
So there was a fairly large detour in our basketball chats, but now if anyone was ever curious about this movie, The Cobbler, Adam Green, the only other person I know in the world who watched and enjoyed The Cobbler as much as I did.
Well, trying desperately to put this conversation in a headlock and drag it back to basketball, can we just talk about another unseemly incident that happened in New York City recently? And that was at the end of a matinee game between the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks. LeBron James went up to attempt a game-winning shot and was humiliated with a stifling block by Super Mario Hazonia. The indignity.
The indignity, indeed. And the I can't imagine I'll see a better photo this NBA season than LeBron kneeling in his like almost like weird like Iron Man superhero pose, like Thinking David. Is that what that thing's
It's
called?
incredible.
With Hazonia just pointing at him and cackling.
No, looking like Cyclone Trevor in the party when he sees someone passed out on the couch.
Yeah, like what?
Just snorting with laughter and glee and then kind of pointing at LeBron.
He's definitely pointing at LeBron. But this is my question. Is the point and the smirker, yo, I just got LeBron? Or like, check out this dude pretending to care? That little LeBron's little pose didn't seem like the pose of somebody with of utter disappointment. He's like, oh shit, I got blocked. Let me show him exactly how much that bothers me, which it didn't at all.
My understanding of that photo is that it took place at a different point in the game.
Oh.
That's my understanding. I don't know for sure, but I believe it was a different moment.
Well, I mean,
that said, it has become the most fitting and famous and probably enduring photo of LeBron's season in a nutshell.
If that seemed like it was taken at the time one day later, imagine like historically, in like 6 years, it's going to be like time-stamped. LeBron after getting blocked by Super Mario.
I agree.
Good.
And I'm saying, I mean, we're on the same page. And I'm also saying that photo, I believe, will become the representation of this entire season for LeBron.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of nuts that you can distill his season down to that moment, but getting blocked by a bummy dude against the bummiest team in the league in a meaningless game in Madison Square Garden that includes the greatest player of all time, that's a pretty good photo to sum up their season.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a really good photo to sum up the Knicks season if they end up getting Z-Man.
So there was a good article in The Ringer by Dan Devine. Either way, like the guy, just don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Dan Devine.
Dan Devine. But he wrote a story for The Ringer about
Devine.
whether or not your man LeBron,
why is he my man?
my man LeBron, our man LeBron,
Our man LeBron.
is indeed slowing down. And his numbers were fantastic this season in terms of however you wanted to look at it. Scoring, assists, rebounds, metrics. He was fantastic. But there was a couple points that he brought up. And one was that he takes a lot of threes now. But the thing was that it's easier. You don't need to you can just kind of walk up the court and take a three. You don't really have to take someone off the dribble, absorb contact. You can just pull a shot. And the other one was that he's getting to the rim a lot, but he's not finishing well there. And those kind of tie into a greater trend here, which is that LeBron has played already the most playoff minutes of all time, a number he will not be adding to this season.
Oh, did you bring that up just to knock him down?
I did not. 15th all-time minutes played, which is regular season, which is fucking bonkers.
Considering there's dudes that played till they were 40.
LeBron is 15th, and by the end of next year, as Zach Lowe had pointed out in a tweet, that LeBron will most likely be third all-time in minutes if you combine regular season and playoffs by the end of next year. Third all-time.
And he's selective.
That's crazy.
So and he'll still owe them 3 more seasons.
Have we seen... Are we now looking at LeBron easing into endgame here?
Fuck yeah. I mean, we knew that when he signed this contract. It wasn't like, oh shit, LeBron's about to go turbo in Los Angeles. He's 34 years old, man. You've been 34. You've also been 40. You know how...
I'm well aware of these milestones that he's crossing.
Yeah, shit changes. Doesn't matter who you are. But I don't think anybody who let me start that whole train of thought again.
Can we start with the part that's not about me being washed and just jump right past that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Ben washed, LeBron.
Moving on.
Washed. Yes, moving on. Everybody who's retroactively saying that it's a disaster of a season, LeBron's worst of his career because he didn't make the playoffs. I mean, optically, maybe it's not cool. Some of the shit went down, but I'm not that worried. And people are like, oh my God, he's slowing down. Everyone knew that he was going to LA to die, essentially. You know what I mean? Like
in his superhero pose, he's like frozen, immortalized.
yeah,
in stone.
like he's certainly, definitely not dead yet, but you know, he's like lived in New York his whole life. Now he's like going to retire in South Virginia. He's going to Boca Raton to like live out his.
Real gangsters get fat and move to Miami.
Is that it? Is that
in the words of Jadakiss? Was it Jadakiss or Styles P or Chic Luch? It was Locke's.
Yeah, it was one of your old guys.
Yes,
One of your fellow
elders,
well-washed elders.
well washed, well worn.
Well, one, but you know what I mean? Like now everyone's like, he's slowing down, he's washed, he's doing this, he's doing that. What a disaster. I don't get it. I know that sells newspapers and shit, but like ESPN, like number one dick riders of LeBron James for 10 years are now turning against their god. Like,
My thing is, LeBron was great this year. And if he was more selective in terms of when he decided to use his energy, when he decided to play defense, well, so be it, man. He's LeBron James. And that's why I'm bummed that we don't get to see him in the playoffs, because he's done this before. He's sort of sleptwalked through seasons because he knows that the playoffs are when he A, needs to be healthy, and B, what really matters. As someone who, when you're a kid growing up and you watch games, you care about the outcome a lot. Any game, any regular season game, your team loses, you're like mad. You're upset when they lose. Like, fuck, man. As you get older, you watch a game and you know that a regular season game doesn't matter. If you're playing, you want to win it, you get upset. But after the game is done, you're like, moving on. It doesn't matter. And I feel like LeBron has kind of reached that. Like, he wants to win in any individual game, but that's not his priority. He's like, if we win, we win. We don't, we don't. And he cares in the playoffs when it counts. And part of fandom is irrationally caring about games that not only don't matter to you in your real life, but games that actually matter don't matter even in the context of this imaginary world of caring. No. That you're like, okay, it's a January game between two teams that don't matter, and you're like, I have a vested interest in the outcome, and I'm not even gambling. It's like, that's just what sports is. And LeBron's like, come on, guys, I've played the 15th most minutes of all time. I'm not going to run every minute like I was when I was 23.
I like this now. The idea of LeBron went to LA and became a ball hog and like won't like help their young dudes. It's like, who you want Kyle Kuzma to have the ball with 4 seconds left? You want Josh Hart and like what? It's LeBron James, the greatest player of all time. Whether he's declining or not, he's still taking that shot.
Why isn't LeBron teaching these guys? There's a fucking coach. It's Luke Walton. LeBron's here to be the best player of all time. He didn't come in here saying, I'm going to be a tutor. Is he going to be a role model? Yeah, you should be like the greatest player of all time. That also doesn't mean that he has to be like some like rah-rah dude. It's like, come on, man. Let's just be adults.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this regular season to be over just so I don't have to hear any more Lakers bullshit. I saw something the other day where LeBron went to the end of the bench, like sitting on the end of the bench, and how everybody else on the bench moved down one seat so he could sit at the end, and basically acting like LeBron was being a prima donna and sunning them. It's like that's just his seat. That's where he's. They shouldn't have been sitting. They should have been sitting in the right formation in the first place. That seat should always be open for the king.
But also, it's LeBron fucking James. He's the greatest player of all time. Give him whatever chair he wants. LeBron's like, I actually kind of want to sit with one ass cheek on one chair and one on the other and just kind of like ride the split between the chairs. Cool, man. You're LeBron James.
Yeah, you can be like, hey, Luke, your chair looks pretty nice tonight. Like, you should be walking the sidelines actually trying to coach these kids anyway. Get up, Luke.
Seriously, it's like, why is LeBron James being held to the standards of normal basketball players? He shouldn't be. He's different. He's LeBron James.
How upset are you that you're not going to get the LeBron James Giannis Antetokounmpo showdown that everybody wants.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Because like, all right, let's watch Chris Middleton take on Mo Wagner.
I like my Wagner. Ah, well, this is that time of the season where players get shut down if they're shit. Players get restricted minutes if they're got sore groins, a la LeBron. And then other players are going to be resting for the playoffs as well. Like we're seeing like teams start to clinch spots, fall completely out of playoff contention. So this is where rosters will start to get a little bit wiggly, I would imagine.
Well, that's the irony of the NBA season is that early on, nothing particularly matters because teams play 82 games. It's a long, long season. Then you hit like, okay, they're meaningful. After Christmas is sort of the cutoff. Christmas Day games, like the NBA has started. Football disappears. NBA takes on primacy within the sports landscape. The stars come out to shine at the All-Star break. Trade deadline. Teams get their final form has been decided. And then it's like a month later, everyone's like, yeah, nothing matters until April. Like the playoffs start, I think, April 13th or April 16th. And you're looking at the standards, you're like, okay, so the Kings are now 6 games back from the Clippers. They're out. The West is all set except for the matchups. And in the East, you've got an Orlando-Miami matchup. If you want to really watch the horse race down the stretch in the entire NBA, it's a Florida matchup between Orlando and Miami is basically the only thing left to be decided.
But surely that scheduling is just decided because of the tournament, right? The NCAA tournament.
Oh, I just think it's the nature of the NBA.
But there's a reason why it happens at that particular time.
Oh, maybe. I just think it's like kind of what you were saying. Teams are like, all right, we're out. We're tanking.
Of course. Like
other teams are good.
But this has been going for a number of years, and it's been an 82-game season for a very long time now. So, and you can see in previous years that from this point on, like not only is it the teams that make the playoffs barely change. It's really only like the last 2 teams, like maybe the 8th and 7th seed that might change. But the order in which the playoffs are decided is pretty much set now. And so there's nothing really to
there's still
play for or get excited for.
Still
So like the attention goes to the NCAA tournament, which ends, I believe, probably 2 weeks before the end of the season. It works out for everyone.
I agree. And even the playoff seeding is not decided, but that kind of gets to see, and that's like the only thing in the last couple of weeks, because right now it's too early to be like, yes, we're in the 3rd seed versus the 4th. Like, it's a one game, man. There's still 22 games left to play. It's not that big of a deal. But after the tournament, you've got like 2 weeks, and you can kind of be like, all right, if we lose tonight, then we're going to face like Toronto. But if we win, we could face Milwaukee.
Exactly.
And there's
get that NBA dick hard for the playoffs again.
Just get your dick wet right before the playoffs.
Coach Bud.
But yeah, LeBron being out of the playoffs is boring. But I will say the Clippers are kind of a fun substitute if we're going to have an LA team in there. Clippers are.
I'll take the Clippers.
Are cool.
I'll take the Clippers over the Lakers, and I'll take playoff premiere of our boy Nikola Jokic and his Denver Nuggets, who clinched last night. I'll take that ahead of a LeBron Lakers team as well. They're gonna cause a little bit of noise, I think.
The second half of the West is so tight and really lethal. And we were saying like Sacramento, is out, but that gives you the Spurs, OKC, Utah, and the Clippers. Clippers are fun. They're not a great team, but those are such shitty first-round matchups. If you're Denver, like, we did it. We clinched a playoff berth. Congrats to all. And you're like, okay, cool, go play the Jazz. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, that is a bummer of a first-round draw.
They could have.
I don't know that they're better than the Jazz. They're really good.
I think that they are, but are they four wins better than them over the 7-game series? That's always going to be the problem.
It's one of the things about the 7-game series.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean. It's like, will they get figured out or not.
The East matchup seems sensible, though, right? You're like, all right, Toronto's going to play Brooklyn. You're like, that's a totally reasonable first-round matchup. And then you're like, okay, so Houston plays OKC. Like, there's just some gnarly potential first-round matchups in the West that make it really a lot more watchable than the East.
Yeah, let's go OKC on that one.
You got any more docs to recommend? Any more movies about shoe repairs that you think our
nothing
listeners would like?
nothing for right now. I've had my eyes full with NBA basketball for the last week or so. How about you, Ben? Any winners?
No, I haven't watched anything other than the first 15 minutes of Theranos. Is that what it's called?
No, it's called The Inventor.
Oh, The Inventor. Yeah. Her voice is really quite a thing.
I know. That's the only reason I'm going to go and watch the Jennifer Lawrence starring feature film, if that ever comes out, is to see if she can pull off her weird drawl. She sounds like Leonard Cohen.
First We Take New York. I think I read a good, I don't want to say it was on like The Cut or maybe a New York Mag thing, but they said her voice is kind of the dumb guy voice that women use to imitate dudes.
That's true.
I was like, that's pretty funny. Like, okay, dudes, all right, we better get in here. And it's like she actually does do like the doofus dude voice as a way to add gravitas to her personality, which is pretty ironic.
Maybe it's because she spent her whole career pitching this idea to a bunch of like dumb dudes in the room.
Absolutely.
Also, why is there a documentary about her called The Inventor where she like makes this company that's valued at billions of dollars but is totally bullshit, when our girl Sarah literally, truthfully, honorably invented Spanx, turned that into a $3 billion company.
Now that's an inventor.
Now that is an inventor. Cutting off a pair of tights, I believe, or stockings,
maybe.
tying up the bottoms, maybe even for her dad, because her dad was feeling chubby. I don't know. But if you can turn chopped up pantyhose into a bra and bike shorts empire worth $3 billion,
That's inventing.
that's a female CEO. Well, the same thing, because they were like, oh, she's the CEO of a company. It's her own company. She invented this thing. Sarah literally did that with Spanx. It just wasn't in the like cool world of tech and Silicon Valley. It was in the dark, dingy underwear business.
Where's the movie about Glossier?
Yes.
A lifestyle blog turned into a $1 billion valuation on makeup that's been around for a couple of years.
See, this is what you come to cookies for. Disgruntled,
Women-owned businesses.
disgruntled old men wondering where their documentaries are about Kendall, which is the Jenna with the crazy makeup thing. I still can't believe that story, but anyway.
The first self-made billionaire.
Yeah. Not true. Sarah.
Right? Seriously. Or maybe it's I don't know. But back to your girl with the crazy voice.
Yeah. Your girl with the crazy voice.
Holmes.
Ariel Holmes? No. That's
Was
not
she
her.
able to get away with it because she was using a dumb dude voice and talking to dumb dudes?
I believe that's why she was able to pull the wool over people's eyes for so long. But
Would it have worked if she had the typical woman's voice and then guys' prejudice would have flipped in, but they were being lulled to sleep by their own dulcet, moronic tones?
this is quite possible. But I don't think she's getting away with it. I think she's doing time.
Is there a bigger scam? Like, is there just a bigger scam than this? Something that got...
In general?
Yeah. I mean, that had $8 billion of value on something that literally did not work. I mean, I'm not saying you should be going through the annals of scammery for a
Oh, fuck
alternative.
yeah, man. Like,
I'm saying, is this the one, though? Is this the king scam?
no, man. Want to buy a bridge?
That was a good scam.
Selling the Brooklyn Bridge to people and you don't own it? I still don't know how that worked, but it was in the olden days, and so nobody knew how anything worked. But same dude sold the bridge like 9 times. How much did he even sell it for?
I know that was like, but those things kind of don't count. It's like basketball doesn't matter before 1985. It's like, everyone was like super stupid back then. You could just sell them bridges and stuff.
Selling a concept to Walgreens is so different to selling a fucking bricks and mortar bridge. That's why, like, no one, I can't imagine in like 200 years anybody's going to be like, want to buy a personal mini lab? Lol.
Yeah, the bridge, that was a good one.
I think he also sold like the Natural History Museum, maybe the Guggenheim. I forget the dude's name, but he's magical. Look it up.
Yeah, that's a good scam. I'm going to sell McCarran Park to a hotel company.
Does it come with people doing tightrope walking and fucking like badminton in high tea outfits?
I mean, not to get too old school Williamsburg, Brooklyn-y, but those were the days, man. The halcyon era of McCarran Park. Sunday afternoons, you'd have the volleyball on one side. Now it's just a bunch of strollers. Good old days, man.
Oh man, there's nothing quite like strolling through the badminton riffraff with a New York muffin in one hand and a Turkey's Nest margarita in the other.
Look, all that untanned, stick and poke flesh out there for the taking.
Ugh, all those trash and vaudeville jeans pulled down to the bikini. And with that,
Cut off cheap Mondays.
sacrilege.
Oh,
Sacre. Thank you, Andrew. You were a little quiet today, but
you're welcome. Cookies.
cookies.